Hey guys, so in this problem, I'm going to teach you how to write the method for find horse space. It's the 2012 question number 3 horse barn. So let's just get right to it. I'm assuming once again that everyone was able to read the problem before, so I'm just going to run through it. This here says consider the software system that models a horse barn. Classes that represent the horse implements the following interface. Okay, so we have a string get name and an int get weight. Anytime you are doing any of these problems, see what kind of variables or methods you guys have so you can use them. So I have a get name and a get weight. So the declaration of the horse barn class is shown below. You will write two unrelated method, which means you don't have to use part A for part B. So here we have public class horse barn, and it has a variable called spaces of type horse, which is a single dimension array. Now, we never passed it through the constructor, so anytime we want to refer to this guy, we're going to have to say this dot spaces. Now, just a friendly reminder that if you want to look at any of the index, you're going to have some sort of I, and we know that arrays typically come with a for loop, and it should be one for loop if it's a one-dimensional array and two for loops to access a two-dimensional array. So let's continue. This says for part A, it says basically write the method find horse space, and it's going to pass through a name and it's going to return the int. So what is this returning? It tells you right here, always above it. It says returns the index of the space containing the horse with the specified name. -1 if no horse with that specified name is in the barn. Just a precondition, no two horses are in the barn at the same time, and we have a parameter name, the name of the horse. Great. So that's what we're passing in right here. Okay? So let's begin. So if you're looking for trigger, it should return 0. If you're looking for silver, it should return 2. If you're looking for cocoa, -1, because there is no cocoa here. So you want to make sure you return at least -1 to get some sort of credit. Okay, so how do we do this? Like I stated earlier, you're going to have to go through this array and look for the name that's being passed in the parameter. Well, how do you go through a single array? You're going to use a for loop. So int I equals 0, I is less than this dot space, or I think it was spaces, dot length, I plus plus. So this will allow us to access these guys here. Once we access each one of them, what do we want to do? Well, let's say I'm looking for silver, and I have this as my actual array. It's going to go and look at trigger's name, and it's going to say nope, and then it's going to come right here. Once it touches a null, you're going to get flagged an error. You're going to get a null exception error. So you have to take care of this first. So typically I would say if, and I'll leave a lot of room, if the name that you're passing, so remember, you'll be passing a name here. If the name dot equals, right, because we're looking basically at a string, so we need the dot equals. If the name dot equals, and I'm not going to have room here, so I'm just going to write it right here. This dot spaces I. Okay, so what happens here, guys, is there's two things here. There's a name and a number. A name and a number. So you have to tell the computer what you want it to get. Do you want it to get the name or the number? Remember what the number is. The number is the weight. So you have two different you have a string and an int is what I'm trying to say. So you have to tell the reader or the computer which one you want. So we're gonna do dot get name. Otherwise, it's gonna get confused and say, hey, there's a couple of things in here. What should I get? So that's gonna go there. So we're gonna say if name dot equals this dot spaces I dot get name, then we are going to return, remember what it wants you to return the index, so return I. Otherwise, we're going to return -1, and you just have to be very careful with your brackets. You don't want to return too early. You want it to go through the entire for loop. Otherwise, if it doesn't get it on the very first try, then it's going to return -1. You want to make sure that this -1 is on the outside. Well, let's just continue. We want to make sure here, let me use a different color, that this dot spaces I does not equal a null first. So remember, when you're looking at a null, you want the does not equal sign, okay? When you're looking at strings, you want the dot equal spelled. So this basically takes care of part A. So this is the 2012 question number 3 horse barn part A. This is how we locate either trigger, silver, or we don't have a cocoa. You have to return the index where it's placed, and that's pretty much it. So once again, a one-dimensional array requires one for loop. Okay, I use this dot spaces dot length because I never passed the spaces. I never passed this guy right here through a constructor. So I'm using this dot spaces, and we know it's going to be dot length because it's an array and not an array list. We want to make sure that we don't hit a null. Remember, this part always comes first. It can't come after because of the short circuit method. We'll break this before it goes there. That's what you want. And this is how we're going to return the index. So I hope all of that makes sense. I hope that this dot get name makes sense. Remember that you have to tell it what you want it to get because he has a name and a weight in here. So come back for part B in the next video.